So this was my second season. So just before the season started last year. So it would have been around September that I went to Old Eds.
And before then, did you have any other club that you played for?
Yeah, so straight after school, I studied at Wits for a little bit. And with studying at Wits, I played club cricket at Wits. And that's
Mhm.
where I was coached and mentored by Bongani and Tini, Sharma Naidu, Vincent Jordan. So they also helped shape my cricket career into what it's become. Um, so yeah, I've got a lot of very good memories um, from playing at Wits Cricket Club.
And please do tell two of your favorite knocks for Wits.
So my favorite knocks for Wits. I actually think it comes from back-to-back weekends. We played against Old Eds at Old Eds, funny enough. And they batted first, and in a chase, I got 100 chasing. We won the game by 9 wickets. And then the weekend after that, we played against Jeppy Quandam at Wits, and they had a very good bowling attack and a very good team at that stage. And it was one of my better knocks, not giving a single chance, getting 100 that day as well. That was probably two of the ones that come to mind.
And if we rewind, I'm not sure if I have my information right here, but if we rewind and go back to your St. John's years, you were a talented youngster. And I do believe you went for almost all provincial trials, but you were never quite fortunate when it came to provincial teams from early on. Is that right?
I'll say you half right. I was very fortunate to get picked in the Gauteng under 15 A team and the Gauteng under 17 A team. I just never quite um I was never picked for Gauteng under 19. So I'd say I was a bit well, it was unfortunate that I didn't get picked in the main provincial school team when it counted. But yeah, I'd say, and I say this a lot, is I was a very talented young cricketer in school. Um, I just think I underachieved as a school cricketer. I didn't get as many runs as I should have with the talent that I had. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I would say you correct in that sense where I was a talented cricketer but didn't quite have the achievements to go along with that talent.
Looking back, because I sense a strong sense of self awareness here. Looking back, when you look at your school years, what do you think was the reason why you didn't quite get as many runs as you could have gotten, given your talent?
Um, I think the self-belief element, which a lot of cricketers struggle with today, and what I still struggle with today, I think the talent was there, but I don't think the self-belief was there. As I've said, I was a very talented cricketer when it came to schoolboy cricket, and I tended to get a lot of pretty 30s and 40s that looked great if you were there to watch it. But when it came to seeing the scorecard and seeing the guys around me that put up numbers, which ultimately um, runs as a batter's currency,
Mhm.
the runs didn't quite match up to the talent. So it would have looked like a great innings of 40, would have looked pretty, but then I'd always get myself out. So yeah, I'd say that was probably the reason or kind of the situation when it came to not making certain schoolboy teams, as the runs didn't quite match up to the others around me.
And what was the defining moment for you when the switch clicked? Because at some point, you started making big runs and people started paying attention. What do you think happened? Or was it someone who had a talk with you? Or did you sit down and had a good think about it? What happened for you to make that mental shift?
Um, I don't think I can pinpoint an exact reason, but I do remember a certain conversation I had. I mentioned earlier Vincent Jordan, who was our assistant coach at Wits. So like I made runs here and there in high school. I had towards the back end of high school, I made a lot of runs, but still not enough to crack the nod for certain teams. And then when I got out of school at Wits, it took a good season or two where I still did the same thing. I got pretty 30s, pretty 40s, maybe a 70 here and there. And then kind of my breakout season in club cricket where I got a lot of runs. Vincent pulled me aside after the first couple of games and he told me that I think I averaged something like under 10 if I got out in between 0 and 20. But if I got past 20, I think I averaged something like 270. So
Mm.
what he meant by that conversation was get to 20 and then from there you in, but don't give it away. Keep batting, keep enjoying batting. And I remember that conversation like it was yesterday, where he told me that once you get past 20, that's when you start your work. And that kind of lives with me to this day.
And most of us have seen the results. You had a brilliant run in 4-day cricket, strung together a couple of centuries, and everyone was like, "Hey, Connor is very good." And we're like, "Yeah, you just haven't been paying attention. It's been good for a while." How has this recent run been for you? When you sit down, do you sit down to look back on the matches you just played, or once it's done, you will visit it from an analysis point of view, but you don't dwell much on these achievements?
To be honest, I haven't really sat down and thought about it. And I think the busy schedule contributes towards it. I mean, we played in Cape Town, then 3 days later we're playing in Durban, and then 3 days later we're playing at Supersport Park in Pretoria, and now we start again on Tuesday. So I don't think I've really had time to sit back and reflect on what the start of the season has looked like. But to be honest, I was at National Academy during the winter and I didn't even consider working on white ball cricket, or even look at white ball cricket because I was so disappointed in how my red ball cricket has gone. Um, one of the I did an interview um, at one of the games, and one of the commentators said to me, "You've only been thought of as a white ball player, so how does it feel like to get runs in red ball cricket? How does it feel? What does it feel like to contribute in red ball cricket?" And that was really disappointing to hear, not from the commentator side, but because he was absolutely right. I had no red ball credentials, I had no red ball runs. So I worked really hard on my red ball game this winter. That's all that I thought about and all that I was worried about. And it was nice to just see some of the hard work that was done kind of bring these runs into fruition. Um, Not to say that runs are guaranteed, but I mean, it's just nice to see that hard work sometimes does pay off.
What would you say are some of the things that you've really focused on in the winter as you were preparing for the Red Bull season?
I think one of the things that we always speak about in red ball cricket is controlling the channel, and that's the kind of the zone in between fourth stump and off stump, or fourth stump and middle stump. And in 4-day cricket, more often than not, whoever controls the channel the best, whether it's the bowler or the batter, normally comes out on top for the most part. So that's one thing we spoke about, is controlling the channel, knowing where my off stump is. And then I think it just comes down to decision making, what shots to put away, what shots to play in certain conditions. So those are some of the things that we really worked on. And then the other thing that I've been working on, and it's a real work in progress, and I think it is for all batters, is just the problem solving of batters. So I had a conversation with Vian Mulder, who's a good friend of mine who I play at the Lions with. and he is very big on kind of problem solving and figuring out what the bowler is trying to do to get you out. So not worrying about the totality of what everyone's trying to do. It's just you versus the bowler and how he's trying to get you out versus how you trying to negate that. And I think in my last 2 4-day games or my last 3 4-day games, um, that's kind of been helping in terms of building the innings that I did. It's trying to figure out what the bowler's trying to do, and try and beat that plan.
And 4-day cricket is very taxing on the mind because you cannot, the mind, I don't think the mind has enough bandwidth to be constantly switched on for 8 hours. But then you need to be switched on for every delivery. Now, how do you handle the switching on and off? Because for you to put together the kind of innings you put together, it takes a lot of skill, in that regard of switching on and off during an innings.
Yeah, for sure, you're 100% right. And I think what is a very big part of that is your batting partner on the other end. In these last 2 4-day games, I was batting with two very good friends of mine, Mitchell van Buren, Delano Potgieter. So in between that switch on in terms of when we're facing the actual ball, when the delivery is being bowled, in between that, there's a lot of laughs, a lot of jokes, a lot of banter in the middle. Um, so yeah, I think that's very important in terms of switching on, switching off, because as you said, it can be very taxing mentally when having to concentrate for that long.